Welcome back to the Art of the Paint podcast, a women's basketball podcast hosted by myself, Tyler DeLuca. And we have a lot to talk about. The WNBA Draft was on Monday, and they did Destiny Henderson dirty. I mean, that was what I took from it. They did Destiny Henderson dirty all the way into the second round. She fell. And also, I just saw, as I'm recording this on Wednesday, day of the parade for South Carolina, and I saw that India didn't even let her go to the parade, which is crazy. If you want to build good relationships with your player, that's a great start. Fantastic start, Indiana, who has just such a great history with their rookies. But that's beside the point. Let's get into the draft itself. And like I said, I want to start with Destiny Henderson, because dropping that low, I don't think anybody expected it, especially after that national championship. The performance that she had. I mean, people have been known. I feel like obviously the national championship helped, that improved her draft stock a ton. But I feel like people, I would like to think at least, that people have been paying attention to what Destiny Henderson has been doing on both sides of the ball. I mean, I think her defense was on display just as much as her offense was in that national championship, because she was locking them UConn guards up, locking them up. They had them in prison. And that showcased the all-around player that Destiny Henderson is. And I was just shocked. Let's just Lexi Holt, Veronica Burton, Nia Clouden, Kayla Pointer, Kristen Williams, Kiana Smith, all players listed as guards that were drafted in front of Destiny Henderson. And I understand, I think that there's some of those that you could possibly make a little bit of a debate about, especially about fit and different things like that. But there's just no way that Destiny Henderson should have dropped that far. Obviously, I mean, you look at all the mock drafts and everything, and mock drafts can only do so much. People only know so much. Everyone's just making their best educated guess. But literally everybody had her in the first round that I saw. And I looked at a lot of mock drafts. I don't think I saw anybody that had her falling that low. And it felt like every pick that went by, it's like, okay, Henny's here. This is Henny's pick. And then it wasn't. When the Aces got to pick twice, that was going to be Henny there. And just kept going. I mean, they got another pick, and it still wasn't Henny. They went for Kayla Pointer instead. And I was just amazed. And there was a couple of players that fell a little bit further than I had expected, but we can get more into that later. But yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. It was either December 2019 or January of 2020. I went to a South Carolina practice, and this is when I was really getting into women's basketball, like heavy. Like I was really starting to dive into it. But I didn't know Destiny Henderson yet. I didn't know her. And like I said, this was still like the really beginning stages of me like really diving headfirst into this. I think it happened like right after this practice actually. But I was there, and I just remember Destiny Henderson killing everybody. Just going at everyone, killing them. It's just the smallest player out here on the court, and it didn't matter. And I expect the same thing to happen in the WNBA. I don't think that this is going to stop anything that Henny is going to be able to accomplish in the WNBA. All I think is that it's just going to continue to raise so many questions about so many GMs and so many organizations within the WNBA and their talent evaluation and their need evaluation. There was a couple of players that went to teams. I'm just like, why? Like Dallas picking Veronica Burton. And that's not even a knock on Burton, because if they needed defense, they have like 30 guards on that roster. Somebody free Ty Harris. Like, I mean, it just, some of it didn't make sense. And the Destiny Henderson disrespect was crazy, especially when she had the best fit out there. Like, and it wasn't even close. But moving on from that, I do kind of want to touch on the two picks that fell likely because of injury reasons that I think could be huge. First is Niara Sabally from Oregon, went to the New York Liberty, pairing her up with UNESCO. And I'm a Sabally supporter of the family. I see the vision with both her and Satu. Like I get it. I love the potential. And I love the fit with the Liberty with this. Yeah, she has the size, she can bang a little bit, she can score. Like it's a great fit. I love it. I understand the injury concerns though. But man, if they can piece that together and she can stay healthy, I really I love the fit. I really, really, really do. And the other player was Ray Burrell, which I mean, everyone kind of like she went about right where she was projected. I think everyone seemed to have her with the sparks, and the fit makes sense. You get Kennedy Carter, you get Liz Cambage, that's your guard and your big. You need a wing. You get another young wing to build around, and Ray Burrell is that. Now, obviously, I mean, her injury history is super storied. I feel like it's what everyone talks about anytime there's a Tennessee game on the TV this entire season. It's talking about Ray Burrell and her injuries, and understandably so, because when she's healthy, she's a hooper. Like it's just that simple. She can hoop, and I love the not only the fit just in who they have, but also who she's going to be able to play under, and presumably, like I said, hopefully not create any more injuries and anything, not too much wear and tear early on in her career, where she's still able to learn under different wings, different players with the sparks. I love everything about that fit. I think that could be a really, really high quality pick, assuming that she's able to stay healthy. So I'm going to move on now. The biggest question mark of the entire draft. I'm just going to give it to a team. And I don't think there's very much surprise as to which team this is going to be. The Indiana Fever. Let's just break it. We'll start from the top. Melissa Smith at 2. Fantastic pick. That's what everyone pretty much expected. Everyone expected Ryan Howard to go number 1. Melissa Smith is a fantastic player. I saw her play several times this season, being in Big 12 country, being at OU. She's one of them ones. Like, Melissa Smith is legit. Emily Engstler at 4. Cool. Defense, I get it. It's kind of weird fit. They both play the same position, but I get it. They need that defense. And then we get to pick number 6. What? Lexi Hull at 6? That's not even a knock. It's going to come off disrespectful, but that's just the reality of it. Lexi Hull at 6? They had half the picks in the draft, and you think that she's not going to be available past 6? I mean, it felt like the Indiana Fever kind of came into this and was like, let's just draft the best player available. And they should. I mean, that's kind of where they're at in their rebuild. That makes total sense. And that's what they should have done. Lexi Hull at 6? It reminds me almost like the Lil Wayne sound that's going on TikTok right now, where Gucci Mane's in the top 5 rappers. That's Lexi Hull when it comes to the top of this draft. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then at 10, they go and get Queen Egbo. Melissa Smith's teammate at Baylor. Another big. I don't get it. Like, it's not even necessarily that they couldn't be players like on a roster or anything like that. But at 6 and 10, that's where you think you could have got them? You had all these picks. And you take Lexi Hull at 6 and Queen Egbo at 10. And then, of course, they did get Henny at 20, which is a steal. But, like, if you told me Indiana got Lexi Hull and Henny, and you told me which one was at 6 and which one was at 20, I have that completely flipped. And I think pretty much everyone did. I don't think anybody expected Lexi Hull to go that high and Henny to go that low. So I guess if you look at it just in the grand, like, okay, they got Melissa Smith, Emily Angster, Lexi Hull, Queen Egbo, and Henny. I mean, that's a solid draft. But just the order of them doing it. And I think if you take out the draft aspect of it and like, okay, this is who we got at the draft, you'll be like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's a good draft. You get Noah Smith, Emily Angstler, Henny. That's a good draft. But then you just take into account the players that were left on the board because of how early they picked Egbo and Hull, and it's just hard to piece together, man. Like, I mean, it's a solid draft. I think it's a good basis for the rebuild that they're going to have to go under. But man, it's a little questionable. It's just because of the positioning. But nevertheless, let's get into the winners. Let's have some positivity. I feel like it's been all negative so far this episode. Let's have some positivity. The Atlanta Dream won. Like, they really won. everyone expected them to pick Ryan Howard, which is like a win in itself, just being able to get a player of that caliber. That's a W. But they got Naz Hillman at 15 the second round. Everyone pretty much expected her to go in the first round from what I had seen. It was late first round. So not a big surprise that she dropped to the second round, but I definitely would have thought that she was going to go in the first round. But man, that's who you're leaving with, Ryan Howard and Naz Hillman. That's a W. That's a W. And I understand Naz. I've been high on Naz Hillman for a very long time. Like I said, she was one of from the first time I watched her play, like I was like, okay, she got it. Like her footwork, her ability to, especially the smaller big, which is the concern with her, is her size. But she's been the epitome of consistency since her freshman year. I can't help but feel like, is she going to be a huge star in the WNBA? I don't know, but I can't imagine that. I can't see a way where Naz Hillman isn't contributing positively in some type of way, because that's just her. She's been doing that since her freshman year in college. She's been this size the entire time. This is nothing new to her in that. And obviously, I mean, WNBA is more physical. It's bigger. Everyone's smarter. Everyone's better. I get that. But I really do think that Naz Hillman has the ability to come in and be a consistent, constant contributor for the Atlanta Dream. And you put that on with Ryan Howard. I mean, those are two really, really high quality players at the college level. And I think it works. I like the fit. I like everything about it. Like, I'm very high on Naz Hillman. But I see it. And if you're spending a second round pick on a player like that's been doing what Naz Hillman has been doing for as long as she's been doing it at the college level, I feel like you roll the dice on that. I don't think that no one's gonna be like, oh, that's a stupid pick. No, of course not. Not at all. And I think that Atlanta was probably arguably the biggest winner. For me, the other winner was Las Vegas. And I know I said something about the not picking Henny earlier. And I think everyone, especially, I'll follow a ton of South Carolina fans on Twitter. Everyone wanted to see Asia Wilson and Henny pair up just because that would have been dope. It would have been really cool. But I still think they ended up with a really good draft class. In their top 3 picks, they had Maya Hollingshead from Colorado, Kirsten Bell from Florida Gulf Coast, and Kayla Pointer from LSU. I think the order of these picks, once again, might be a little bit debatable. I think I saw one mock draft that had Hollingshead pretty high. And that was it. They were right. But I like the fit. You get size and you get shooting as a stretch 4 next to Wilson. And Lord knows Las Vegas needs to finally shoot some threes next to Wilson, because it's driving me crazy. It's been driving me crazy since I started watching the WNBA. Please give Asia Wilson some spacing. And I think that they finally did. And I don't think it was the most exciting pick, the most glamorous pick going with Hollingshead, but the fit makes sense. It makes total sense. And like I said, maybe I don't know if she would have not been there with some of the later picks, but once again, kind of taking away the order of the picks, which is kind of hard to do in a draft. I like the fit. And whether it's too early in the draft to take that fit is a whole nother conversation, but the fit itself, I do like. But the biggest reason I like the Aces as a winner in this draft is Kirsten Bell. I don't know how she fell that low. I don't understand it. I thought Dallas might pick her at when they picked Veronica Burton, just because I didn't expect them really to take another guard. But man, she can do whatever you need. Like she really can, and she is just a hooper, man. Like, I mean, I love what Kirsten Bell brings to the table. It's just so much versatility. Her 3-point shooting has kind of been up and down throughout her college career. I think this was her worst season so far. So that's something that we'll kind of have to develop once again, talking about that spacing that would be nice for Asia Wilson to finally have. But man, I love, even if it's just coming off the bench and being kind of like a spark scorer just for a couple minutes here and there, I think that she can fill that role really, really, really well. And I'm excited to see what she does in Las Vegas. Like I said, I didn't think that she was going to drop that low. I thought Indiana would end up taking them before the draft. I thought that Indiana would use one of their picks on her, just because I think the scoring upside is huge. And I mean, Indiana went differently. I already talked about that. Jesus Christ. But I love the pick for Vegas. You're at a kind of a point now where you have a pretty solid core in Vegas. I mean, everyone knows what their roster looks like. So I feel you can kind of take a swing and be okay. And even if it just provides depth for now, what can you develop that player into? And I think that by going with Kirsten Bell, that's something that you could definitely look ahead to, is once some of these players maybe start phasing out of a team and everything, can she kind of step up into those bigger roles while also just providing scoring off the bench right now? And yeah, I think it's a great pick. And they also do get some guard depth with Kayla Pointer. She can score and distribute. Can also shoot, I think it's like 36% from the 3-point line. Hollingshead, I think, can shoot like something crazy. It was like 40% maybe. And like I said, I think that spacing is huge. Some guard depth was kind of on the cards for Las Vegas a little bit. They needed some size depth as well, which they got in Hollingshead. So I mean, I like all the picks. I think they all make sense. You get some shooting, you get some playmaking with Kayla Pointer. You get some shooting, you get some size in Hollingshead. Kirsten Bell, if you're kind of taking best player available at that point in the draft, and I'm totally okay with that. I think that Las Vegas is at a point where they can try and do that, and they also get some more scoring off the bench, some more depth as well. I think that their draft just made sense for the most part. Like I said, there was a couple. Like I said, I think Dallas was the one that left me scratching my head the most, just for like fit wise. Where Indiana was, when they selected the players they selected, was the one that kind of just I was questioning it a ton. But Vegas just makes sense. You look at the players and you can see the reason why for everything. But I do want to do one last big winner. Amisha Williams-Holiday out of Jackson State, became the first HBCU player drafted in 20 years, which is so dope. Which now I want to get into the coverage of the draft itself, because this is something that should have been talked about on the draft, on the broadcast. Why that's history. That's history. I mean, it's almost this is season 26 of the WNBA, 26, 27 of the WNBA. And I don't know, COVID has all my years messed up, but that's almost the entire history of the WNBA since an HBCU player has been drafted. And you had someone whose team gave LSU a scare in the tournament and became a story, like a national story. It was like, everyone turn on LSU right now versus Jackson State. They might lose. And LSU probably should have lost, but that's a topic for another time. But nobody even talked about it. And we had like 2 straight rounds where we're just chatting about whatever, going to the Papa Shot. Like, and I just think that, I mean, I think it's kind of all leagues. I struggle watching the draft, especially when we're just trauma dumping and all the questions are about, what adversity did you face to get here? Like, everyone had that's all you got. You didn't do any other research. That's the questions you got. And it's in their biggest moment too, and you instantly make them talk about the things that made them sad and they had to overcome. And it doesn't sit right with me. How easily you could just be like I mean, Ryan Howard was the easiest example. Number 1 pick, and you go talk about someone that you consider a little brother who died. You don't have to do that right there. You don't have to do that. You can just be like, Ryan, how are you? Can you describe your feelings right now? That's it. You don't have, you're not reinventing the wheel here. But it makes me so uncomfortable having to hear that. And I understand doing a feature story or something like that, where you're talking about the upbringing of these players and everything. But you can do that separately. That doesn't have to be in the most important moment of their life. Like this, they just got drafted. They just accomplished their dreams. And you want to talk about how their mother had to work 12 jobs and just so they can go play on a court. Those are important stories to tell, but that's not the time. It's time and place. You ain't got to do all that right now. And it was just weird. And I think it's time that we begin to expand the voices that we get to listen to in women's basketball. Because the same crews cover college and the WNBA. I don't always like doing the direct comparisons, but like you have completely different people for men's college basketball versus the NBA. You have completely different teams, completely different crews, different sets, everything. It's all different, as it should be. They're two different leagues. They're two different. I mean, they're two different sports almost, just because of the different skill levels and everything like that. And it's just the same. We've heard the same ESPN people talk about these players in college, and that's great. We need to hear them talk about them in college, but let's bring in some other opinions for the WNBA, or let's start diversifying who is on the set during the college season. There has to be some type of change, because I think it's getting a little stale at times, and especially during the draft coverage, where it just didn't feel like there was much analysis going on. Like, it's cool. It's doing the cool segments and everything about fashion and things of that nature. That's dope. Highlight that. That's cool. Those are cool things that gives each player personality and like shows the humanity of them, because they are humans at the end of the day. But we're watching a basketball draft. Let's talk about some basketball. It's a real sports league. We don't spend more than 15 seconds on a guy's outfit at the NFL draft. If it's even brought up. Let's talk about basketball. Why is this player a good fit for this team? Why are you surprised that this team picked this player when they could have picked this player? Let's dive a little bit deeper. If we want people to treat the WNBA as a legitimate league, let's talk about it like a legitimate league. And I don't think that the mark was hit during the draft. And I hope that as there's continued investment into the WNBA, that we see more media investment into it as well, and we get more faces on the screen and everything. And I'm not even saying you have to take the people that are on right now off. Let's just mix it up some. Let's do something a little bit different, and especially between the two seasons, between WNBA and the NCAA. I just think that there's so much room for improvement. But that is going to do it for my WNBA draft coverage. Be on the lookout for a possible extra episode this week. I got a special guest coming on, so make sure that you're following me at Tyler Luca TV on Twitter and at Art of the Paint on Twitter to kind of get a heads up on when that might be dropping. But if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And if you're on whatever podcast platform you're on, make sure you rate it and subscribe as well. And I will see you for the next episode.